So on DC Music Rocks, we're shining a spotlight on the great songs, artists, and incredible people behind the DC region's music scene. Marielle Kraft is a singer-songwriter who laces honest stories together through clever lyrics with catchy melodies, drawing influence from artists like Shawn Mendes, Taylor Swift, and John Mayer. Since the ripe old age of 18, her songs have been known to bring people together, a room of strangers, through laughter, reflection, and maybe a few welcome tears every once in a while. I mean, Test Drive, my God, it's an influence. Like, I feel the inspiration on, okay, I got it. Tears, good. And her latest powerful single, we just played it for you and talked about it, Test Drive, was released in August of 2018. And she's here and she's going on tour and she's doing all kinds of crazy things. And first time I came across her was with the episode with Eli Lev. If you go back and listen to Eli Lev's episode, he said, hey, listen, because all the guests bring artists with him. And he's like, hey, let's play Marielle. Never heard of Marielle. Marielle's awesome. And now she's here with me. So this is cool. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, Eli's the man. He's one of those people who is very well connected around here. And he kind of took me under his wing when I moved here about a year ago. And he has just been so supportive, and the fact that he, brought me to DC Music Rocks, I couldn't be more grateful. So shout out to Eli, thank you so much. And his new single, Chasing Daylight, I don't know if you've heard it, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Definitely check that out if you have time. That's Chasing Daylight by Eli Lev.
Yep, it's on we've got a Spotify playlist if you're one of those people with all these new releases that we share every week. So you can check it out there because it's on there as well. We talked about it last week because
awesome.
I've been rocking to it too.
Yeah, so good.
Now, you said you just moved here. Talk a little bit about DC and how you ended up in DC.
Sure, yeah. So about a year ago I moved to southern Maryland, a town called La Plata, which is about 40 minutes south of DC. And I was a full-time teacher. So I moved here for a teaching job in Charles County.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I was a 6th grade English teacher.
Yeah,
right, exactly. It was awesome. I mean, every day was an adventure, to say the least.
Absolutely.
And these little, malleable 12-year-olds became like my best friends for a year. But they definitely taught me a lot, and I taught them a lot. And it was an incredible year, very rewarding, very challenging. But it kind of came to a point where my music opportunities were arising faster than I could sort of take hold of them, and momentum was shifting, and I didn't want to pass so many of these things up. But a full-time teaching career isn't very conducive to gigging all the time.
True.
Yeah, I would teach all day during the week and then travel almost every weekend with shows. And although that's the Hannah Montana double life dream, it truly is not sustainable. So I had to make a decision at the end of the school year, and I decided to step away from teaching for the indefinite future and see where music will take me.
That is really cool. And I mean, I'm grateful that you stepped away because I've been loving the music. So the fact that you're doing this full time now is like, oh my God, more music. Yes,
and now
this is good.
Absolutely, I can go on tour and I can see more people, and I think that it'll be an incredible adventure for sure.
Absolutely. God, that is really cool. And now you talk about your earliest memory with music.
My really very earliest memory with music?
That's what I want. Yes,
okay.
all the way
I
back.
haven't talked
Take
about
me
this
back.
in a very long time. Wee old ripe age of 8 in I actually was living around Towson at the time in Lutherville, Maryland, and I didn't know that I could carry a tune, but my young elementary music teacher, Mr. Allman, he saw that in me, so he was like, hey, I think you should audition for the school talent show. So at the time I was jamming to Sound of Music. That was like my heart song, and so I chose My Favorite Things as the song I would audition with. I learned how to play like 4 notes on the piano, but I couldn't sing and play piano, so I just played the piano, got up, and then sang without the piano. And I forgot like half the words on stage, and was mortified, and then finished the song, and then like cried, in the back of the classroom. And that was definitely my earliest traumatic memory with music. Things got better, definitely.
I was going to say, now you're performing and going on tour, so clearly you're not forgetting words. And it's come a long way.
It toughened me up, though. It gave me built some character, I guess. But I'll never forget, the first time ever being on stage, so vulnerable at 8 years old, forgetting all the words to My Favorite Things, which ironically was my favorite song. So how do I forget the words? Great question.
Wow, there it is. Well, stage fright is a thing.
It is.
Still to this day.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, I get up there and sometimes it's a little anxious, even though we've done this so many times now. But still, you want everybody to love it. And
someone once told me one time that if you still have stage fright and you still get a little nervous, it shows that you care. And the second you become numb to that feeling, it means that it's not impacting you the way it should anymore. So I don't shy away too much from fear on stage, although a little bit of healthy fear puts pressure on, so it makes you play better sometimes. But I haven't had quite as aggressive an experience as when I was 8. You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic of music, what's one thing in your music collection that might surprise us?
I've been into Kendrick Lamar lately, which
Really?
is the opposite of my music taste.
I was gonna say Test Drive and the song we just heard is totally opposite of Kendrick Lamar.
I've been on a kick with him because I went to Firefly Music Festival back in June. I actually gave a TED Talk there, which was an incredible experience. Yeah, they have like a TED Talk program that happens at Firefly, and they bring in people in the industry or upcoming people or whatever. And I was able to give a TEDx talk about songwriting, and it was
cool. Can people find this online? Is
absolutely,
it one of those
yeah. You can go on
YouTube?
Absolutely on YouTube, like the TEDx YouTube page. It's if you scroll down, it was TEDx Dover because it was Dover, Delaware, and then if you search my name in TEDx Dover, it should come up, and it's called Songwriting: The Art of Being Honest with Yourself, and it talks about how songwriting these days really needs to be vulnerable, because social media has broken down so many of the barriers between artist and fan. And now we can do like Facebook Live, Instagram Live, like basically you can DM/text artists, and you want to become friends essentially with this artist. And so in songwriting, I really feel like that vulnerability and that transparency needs to translate into our lyrics too, so that people really know me and not this facade I'm trying to put up. So I was, speaking about that and played one of my songs, and it was an incredible experience. I mean, come on, like who gets to do that?
Right. I mean, Firefly Music Festival
right,
and a
exactly.
TEDx talk. This
Incredible.
is one of those bucket list items. Check.
Right.
Yep,
it was funny. I like taught the morning in school, and then like got in the car and drove to Firefly, and then spoke at a TEDx at the TEDx event, and I was like, what is the life that I'm living right now? Like, see ya, kids. I'm gonna go give a TED talk at Firefly. Like, who does that? So yeah, that was a really memorable day for sure. But I saw Kendrick at Firefly is where I was going with that, and he was so captivating on stage, and I listened to his singles before then, but then I definitely started listening to more of his deep cuts, and I'm so impressed by his artistry. Like, he is definitely one to be raw and real, so I appreciate him so much for that.
Wow. Inspiration from the most interesting places.
Absolutely.
It comes from everywhere. It really
it does.
is. I mean, I've got a go-go. I'm in a grunge blues band, and I've got a go-go song on my album. Like,
exactly.
I mean, yes, it comes from everywhere, but it has an impact. Now, talk about you on the personal side. So, hobbies. What do you do outside of music?
Outside of music, I recently, my roommate and I, we went to the thrift store. We bought $1 tennis rackets because there's a tennis court like a short walk from our place. And we've just been like finding ourselves hitting around a tennis ball that we found like in the woods lately. Not a tennis star by any means, but I was very inspired by Serena's recent, whole like thing with the media of her like not getting the recognition she deserves and how she's being treated unfairly with being a woman and whatever. So I was like, maybe I can become a tennis star. So that's my new pursuit. Other than that, I do a lot of travel. Love to travel. Like just last week, you know how some people like scroll through Instagram in their spare time? I like scroll through the app Kayak because that's all the cheap flights,
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Explorer. Have you ever used the Explorer feature
that's what,
on Kayak?
all the time. All the time.
It's
You
so
set your
good.
budget, you set the distance. I'm like, man, I got 48 hours, where can I go? I do it probably more than I should. And so last week, that brought me to Wisconsin. Flew out there to Madison for 2 days. One of my...
By yourself? Or friend there? Or
So, yeah, one of my roommates from college works in Madison now. And I've been trying to go out and see her. And it was a random, like, deal of the week. And I was like, should I leave tomorrow? Yep. And so I essentially bought a ticket, hopped on a plane with another one of my friends who was also down to be spontaneous. And we went out to Madison for a couple of days. Yeah.
That is so cool. All right, the Kayak Explorer.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh man! And by the way, if you didn't know about this, for those who don't know, if you go on kayak.com, Kayak is one of those sites that you can search for flights and stuff, and they have a feature on there called Explore, or in the app. I think you can get it on the app too.
That's where I found it.
It's called Explore, and what you do is you set your home location, and then it tells you can move around the map, and you can see how much it costs to fly anywhere from DC. So you can browse around, like if you want to do, what's your budget, what's like you said, the time and whatever, and here's all these places you could go. So and I know in the DC area there's so many people with the travel bug. So if you have
so many airports, there's so many options. That's the best part.
So true. You can set your home area for WAS for the Washington area, and you're golden.
Exactly.
So, I love it. Anyway, so back to you now. So funniest moment that comes to mind from being on stage.
From being on stage. Okay, so have you heard of the organization called So Far Sounds?
Of course, absolutely.
Great, love So Far. DC So Far was the first exposure I had to So Far. And so
Oh, and if you don't know what So Far Sounds is, I hope you go to sofarsounds.com and check it out, because it's like songs from a room. So
exactly,
far.
SOFAR.
Songs from a room, and it's like a very up close and personal, a little intimate, almost like a house show or something, but it's right up close and personal. They just tell you the day before where you're supposed to go, and you don't know who the artist is, and you don't know where you're going until the day before, and then you go see a show. It's kind of
very exclusive.
Yeah.
It's very cool. You feel like you're a part of a really secret society when you're there. So I played a So Far Sounds DC show back in April, and then got the So Far bug, because how can you not? It's such an incredible idea. So I've been able to be fortunate enough to play a lot of So Fars around the country now, because I travel so much, and
sure, you're always around, and you could pick up a show where you
right. I've played
like
So Far Atlanta, So Far Orlando, and these different places where I wouldn't have a draw of the 70 people that they bring to my show.
Right.
So it's such an incredible piece of exposure for upcoming artists. But what's so memorable about that is just a couple weeks ago I played So Far Long Island for the first time. And the director of So Far Long Island, his name is Craig. He is so full of life and so full of energy, and so in tune to when you're playing, very, very attentive, and the whole room follows his lead. So I was playing this song I have called Box, and it's definitely like the gut punch tearjerker song of like the breakup of the century, like we all have. It's like the All Too Well from Taylor Swift, but it's like the Box from Marielle Kraft, So I was playing this song, and I'm so used to the audience reacting in a way that is pretty silent, and like people wiping a couple tears in the back, like whatever, or like looking down the whole time because they're remembering their breakup, whatever. And it was so strange, because I was playing this song, and there's a line that is supposed to like really hit you hard in the end of the first chorus, and Craig just goes, "Oh, same!" like screaming in the middle of the room. And the whole crowd just cracks up, and that was the first time I'd ever felt like a light sense of joy in this song of like heartbreak. And I had to actually stop playing the song for a moment, and we just all laughed, and I was like, that has never happened before. And he was like, I wasn't even trying to laugh, that really got me on that line, and I totally feel you. So it was so cool to turn such a sad song into like this moment of laughter for all of us too. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, my favorite question to ask on every week, I always love to ask it, and that is, if you could offer one piece of advice, what would it be?
I would say that one piece of advice, I didn't make it up, but one that's really stuck with me in the last season of my career is, it's kind of a twofold piece of advice. The first is, nothing will work until you do, and nothing will change until you do.
Ooh, say more on that.
Yeah, so for me, what that's meant is, if I'm getting the same results with people coming to my shows, like the same number of people, or I'm getting the same number of steady streams every week, and it's not growing in any way that is impressive, it's not going to change unless I make a change. It's not just going to magically happen one day. I mean, sure, that happens once in a blue moon where Spotify puts you on a playlist and it explodes. But realistically, like, you have to make a specific strategic change in order to build a fan base, in order to get more streams, in order to make better music. So for me, constantly reminding myself that in order to get better, it has to come from an intentional choice of my own. So the whole nothing will change until you do, this music thing, it's not going to work until you work your butt off to make sure it does, has been really incredible motivation for me. And that's the piece of advice I can offer.
There it is. One little piece at a time, one little change at a time, and then don't stop evolving and changing. That's it. Mm-hmm. It's what is it? Rome wasn't built in a day, or like that kind of thing.
Exactly.
It's like, a little bit at a time. Just keep that momentum going, right?
Yeah. And yesterday I was actually speaking to another artist, of one of my friends who's in a band called the Vaughns from New Jersey, and the lead singer, Anna, told me this piece of advice. She said, it used to be one major break will make your career, and now the music industry has changed, and it's so many little breaks. And so just with that piece of advice is, like, just because you have one little break doesn't mean anything's going to change. Yeah. So it's pushing forward through that third break, through that fourth break, to find something that sticks, for sure.
That's it. Very good. Love those words of advice. I like it. All right, and one more time for those folks who if they want to find out more about you and the cool stuff you're doing and all the stuff that's happening with Marielle, where do they go?
They can go to my website, which is mariellekraft.com. That's Marielle, Kraft with a K, Kraft, like the mac and cheese. So
the Mac. You are
yeah,
the Mac.
I know,
The Mac
that's
Craft.
the Mac. That's right.
Okay.
So MarielleKraft.com, and then all of my social media is just my name, Marielle Kraft. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you want to go, I will be there.